how to destroy anyone politely. Now, when I say destroy, I don't mean physically, and I don't even mean emotionally tearing someone apart. What I mean is neutralizing someone's negativity, disarming their attempt to bring you down, and standing so strong in yourself that they lose all power over you. Because here's the truth, people will test you. They will try to provoke you. They will throw words like darts, hoping one of them will stick. But the real strength, the kind of strength that makes people respect you, is the ability to stand in control of yourself while they lose control of theirs. Politeness is not weakness. In fact, it is one of the most devastating tools you can use. Think about it. When someone comes at you with anger, expecting you to mirror it, and instead you stay calm, centered, and polite, you rob them of their fuel. You don't give them the fight they came looking for. And that's how you win without raising your voice, without breaking a sweat. That's how you destroy them without lifting a finger. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you demonstrate discipline. And discipline is power. The person who can keep their emotions in check always has the upper hand. People who lash out, who need to dominate with noise or intimidation, they reveal their insecurity. But when you remain polite, poised, and unshaken, you reveal your mastery. You remind them without saying a word that they cannot touch you. It's not about proving yourself louder or sharper. It's about proving yourself stronger. Politeness allows you to navigate the battlefield of human interaction with elegance. It disarms the aggressor because they expect hostility in return, and when they don't get it, they're left powerless. You're not lowering yourself to their level. You're raising the bar so high that they cannot reach it. That is the ultimate way to destroy someone. You don't fight their fire with fire. You extinguish it with grace. So the next time someone tries to break you, provoke you, or diminish you, remember this, they don't deserve your rage. They don't deserve your energy. They don't deserve access to your peace. Respond with courtesy, with measured words, with confidence wrapped in politeness, and watch as they unravel, because nothing is more crushing to an opponent than realizing they have no control over you. That is true dominance. That is true victory. Control is power. Think about that for a moment. Every single day, people try to pull you into their storm. They test you. They provoke you. They say things just to see if you'll crack, if you'll lose it, if you'll meet them in the gutter where they live. And when you do, when you explode, when you let anger take the wheel, you hand them your power on a silver platter. You give them exactly what they were hoping for, proof that they can shake you. That's weakness. But when you don't let them touch you, when you don't flinch, when you respond with composure, you send a message far louder than any scream could deliver. I control me. And because I control me, I control this entire situation. Control isn't about holding back because you're scared. It isn't silence born out of fear. It's silence born out of strength. The person who owns their emotions owns the battlefield. You've seen it before. 2 people arguing, one red in the face, shouting, losing their mind while the other stands steady, calm, maybe even smiling. Who looks stronger? Who looks like they're winning? Always the one who stays centered, because people instinctively respect control. They know it takes discipline to remain calm when everything around you is pushing you to explode. The world belongs to those who master themselves. It's not the loudest voice that commands the most authority. It's the quiet, steady presence that doesn't bend under pressure. That's why leaders don't chase after approval. They don't fight to prove themselves. They don't need to. Their calmness says everything. Their self-control is their crown. And if you want to walk into any room and own it, you don't need to raise your voice. You need to raise your level of discipline. Now, ask yourself, how many times have you regretted losing your temper? How many times have you looked back at an argument and thought, I should have stayed quiet. I should have stayed calm. Every outburst costs you something, your peace, your credibility, your energy. And the sad truth is, the person you exploded on probably didn't even deserve the investment. They wanted your reaction. They fed off it. They walked away satisfied because they got to control you. Control is power, and you gave it to them for free. But the flip side is just as true. Every time you've held back, every time you chose control instead of chaos, you walked away stronger. You walked away untouchable. You walked away with respect. Because even the people who come at you aggressively can't help but admire your restraint. Deep down, they know they couldn't do it. They know they couldn't have stood in your shoes and kept their cool, and that's what destroys them. Not insults, not attacks, but the fact that they couldn't rattle you. That's a kind of power that leaves people speechless. And let's be honest, life is going to test you endlessly. People will cut you off in traffic. Colleagues will challenge you in meetings. Strangers will disrespect you. Even people you love will push your buttons. If you react to every provocation, you'll live your life on a string, like a puppet that anyone can control with the right word or gesture. But if you learn to pause, breathe, and stay in control, you stop being the puppet and you become the master. You decide when and how you respond. You decide who deserves a reaction and who doesn't. That's power. Think of the strongest people you know. Are they the ones who scream the loudest? Are they the ones always needing to prove they're right? No. They're the ones who could crush someone with a word but choose not to. They're the ones who could burn everything down but instead walk away with a smile because they don't waste their fire on people who don't matter. Their control makes them untouchable. That's the kind of strength people can't compete with. And here's the secret. Control isn't about the other person at all. It's about you. It's about training your mind to stay calm when your body wants to react. It's about mastering your instincts, because instinct will always tell you to defend, to attack, to lash back. But wisdom tells you to hold, to breathe, to let silence speak for you. When you practice that kind of control, you become bulletproof to insults, rejection, and disrespect. They bounce right off you because you know who you are. And when you know who you are, nobody's words can define you. Nobody's anger can move you, and nobody's negativity can drag you down. Control is power. It's the sharpest weapon you can carry, and it doesn't make noise. It doesn't need to, because once you have it, people feel it. They see it. They know it. And they understand, whether they admit it or not, that they cannot touch you. Politeness disarms aggression. When people come at you with anger, with hostility, with their fists clenched and their words sharp, they expect you to respond in kind. They expect fire for fire, venom for venom. That's the game they know, the battlefield they understand. But the moment you respond with politeness, calmness, and control, you flip the entire script. You remove the ground they're standing on. You disarm them without even touching them. Think about it. Aggression feeds on reaction. When someone yells, they want you to yell back. When someone insults you, they want you to throw something back their way. That's how they validate themselves, by dragging you down into the mud with them. But when you don't give them that satisfaction, when you stand tall and meet their storm with grace, it unsettles them. It confuses them. They don't know what to do with it, because politeness is not the response they were prepared for. You've destroyed their strategy without ever lifting a finger. Politeness is one of the most powerful tools you can carry, not the fake kind that drips with sarcasm or hidden malice, but the genuine kind that comes from strength. Because let's be honest, anyone can shout back. Anyone can get defensive. That doesn't take strength. It just takes impulse. What takes strength is being able to smile in the face of someone's rage. What takes strength is keeping your voice steady while theirs cracks and shakes. What takes strength is proving that no matter how loud they get, you won't be moved. That's real dominance, and it's hidden in something as simple as being polite. And here's the beauty of it. Politeness is unexpected. People don't know how to fight it. If someone insults you and you respond with, "I appreciate your opinion," or "Thank you for sharing that," you've instantly removed their weapon. They swung at you and hit thin air. You don't have to curse. You don't have to cut them down. You don't have to go low. You stay high, and in doing so, you show them they can't reach you. That polite response doesn't just neutralize them, it diminishes them, because now they look like the out-of-control one, and you look like the one in command. Politeness also preserves your energy. Let's face it, arguments and conflicts drain you. They eat at your peace, your focus, your strength. But a polite response ends the battle before it even begins. You don't step into the chaos, you stay outside of it, above it, and in the end, that's what wins wars. The person who doesn't exhaust themselves on meaningless skirmishes. Being polite is not about letting someone walk over you. It's about choosing your battlefield wisely and refusing to fight where the outcome gains you nothing. You see, politeness forces your opponent to confront themselves. If someone is shouting and you remain respectful, it shines a light on their loss of control. Suddenly, everyone watching knows who the stronger one is. Suddenly, their anger doesn't look powerful. It looks weak, childish, insecure, And that's the ultimate blow. You didn't have to tear them down. They did it to themselves the moment they realized they couldn't provoke you. That's how you destroy someone politely. You let them reveal their own lack of strength while you demonstrate yours through restraint. Politeness is not weakness. Don't ever mistake it for that. Weakness is staying silent because you're afraid. Weakness is allowing disrespect because you don't think you deserve better. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a higher form of strength, the kind that says, I'm not going to let you drag me into your chaos. I'm not going to let you decide how I react. I choose to stay calm. I choose to stay respectful. I choose to stay in control. That's not weakness. That's mastery. And here's the truth. Most people will never forget the person who stayed calm when everyone else lost control. They'll never forget the one who smiled while being attacked, who kept their dignity while others threw theirs away. That kind of composure leaves a mark. It commands respect even from those who dislike you. They may not admit it out loud, but deep down, they know you hold something they don't, the ability to rise above. So every time you're tested, every time someone tries to bait you, remember this, aggression thrives on aggression, but aggression dies in the face of politeness. It has nowhere to go, no energy to feed on. It collapses on itself. And in that moment, you win. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because you didn't need to. You stood calm, you stood polite, you stood powerful, and that destroyed them more than any insult ever could. Discipline outweighs noise. You see it every day. The loudest people in the room are often the weakest. They shout, they posture, they try to dominate with volume because deep down they know they don't have substance. Noise is a mask. It's camouflage for insecurity. When someone lacks real power, they try to make up for it by being louder, harsher, more aggressive. But the truth is, that kind of noise fades. It doesn't last. What lasts is discipline, the quiet, steady control of someone who doesn't need to prove themselves with theatrics. Discipline is the ability to stay focused when everything in you wants to react. It's the strength to hold your tongue when you could tear someone apart with words. It's the restraint to keep your cool when the other person has lost theirs. And that kind of discipline will always outweigh noise. Because noise is temporary, discipline is permanent. Noise shouts in the moment, but discipline wins in the long run. The person who can control themselves, who can master their impulses, always has the upper hand. That's because real strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. Anyone can explode. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can be reckless. That doesn't take power. It takes weakness. What takes true strength is the ability to stand in chaos and not be moved by it. That's discipline. Think of a soldier. The untrained one runs when the bullets start flying. They panic, they scream, they make noise. But the disciplined one, they stay steady, they breathe, they focus, their training kicks in, and that's why they survive, that's why they win. Life is no different. The disciplined person doesn't panic when things go wrong. They don't collapse when someone challenges them. They don't waste energy on proving themselves with words. They show their power through control, through composure, through consistent strength. Noise, on the other hand, is a sign of instability. Have you noticed that people who are secure in themselves rarely feel the need to shout about it? They don't need to tell you how great they are. They don't need to prove it with drama. Their discipline speaks for them. But those who are insecure, they make the most noise. They talk the most, argue the most, lash out the most. It's all a show. And once you understand this, you stop being impressed by loudness. You stop being intimidated by it. You see it for what it is, weakness disguised as power. Discipline is also what allows you to make the right choices, not just in conflict, but in life. When you're disciplined, you don't waste energy on petty arguments. You don't get distracted by every little thing that tries to pull you off course. You know what matters, and you protect your focus. That's why disciplined people achieve more. That's why they lead. Because they don't give in to impulse, they don't scatter their energy on meaningless noise. They move with intention, and that makes them unstoppable. Now, understand this. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you train. Just like a muscle, the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Every time you choose to hold back instead of lashing out, you're building it. Every time you stay calm when provoked, you're sharpening it. Every time you choose silence over noise, you're mastering it. And over time, that discipline becomes second nature. It becomes who you are. The reason discipline outweighs noise is because discipline earns respect, while noise earns ridicule. People may listen to the loud one for a moment, but they remember the disciplined one for a lifetime. They know who they can count on in a crisis, who they can follow, who they can trust. Nobody trusts noise, but everyone trusts discipline. So when life puts you in situations where people are shouting, provoking, trying to throw you off balance, remind yourself, I don't need to get louder to win. I don't need to match their chaos. My discipline will do the work for me. My restraint will show my strength. My composure will destroy their noise. That's how you win, not by out-shouting, but by out-disciplining. Because in the end, noise fades into the background, but discipline always rises to the top. Grace is a weapon. Most people don't see it that way because they confuse grace with softness. They mistake kindness for weakness, as if choosing to be respectful somehow means you lack strength. But the reality is the exact opposite. It takes far more strength to stay graceful in the face of disrespect than it does to lash out. Anyone can explode, anyone can hurl an insult back. But not everyone can remain composed, polite, and calm while someone else unravels. That is power at its highest level. When you carry yourself with grace, you send a message without saying a word. You tell the world, I am untouchable. I do not need to lower myself to win. I do not need to step into the mud to prove my strength. My composure is my shield, and my grace is my sword. That's why it's a weapon, because nothing cuts deeper than watching someone stay calm, respectful, and unshaken while you lose control. Grace is intimidating. People expect aggression when they come at you. They expect you to defend yourself, to retaliate, to give them fuel for the fight. But when you don't, when you choose grace instead, you rob them of their strategy. You leave them powerless. They can't fight someone who refuses to fight back. They can't hurt someone who won't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Your grace becomes their defeat because it exposes the chaos inside them while you remain unshaken. And grace doesn't mean silence or passivity. Grace means strength with elegance. It means being able to stand firm, speak clearly, and still remain respectful. It's a way of saying, I'm not afraid of you. I don't need to match your anger. I don't need to outshout you. My strength is already established, and I don't have to prove it. That's what unsettles people, the quiet confidence of grace. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who carry real presence. They don't stomp their feet. They don't slam their fists on the table. They don't scream to make a point. They walk into a room, and their grace does the talking. Their composure demands respect before they ever open their mouth. That's what makes them unforgettable. Grace has a gravity to it. It pulls people in, it earns trust, it commands attention. Noise can only demand attention, but grace commands it. Grace also protects you. Because when you lose control, you give people ammunition. You give them something to use against you. You give them proof that they got under your skin. But when you respond with grace, you give them nothing. You protect your dignity, your energy, your reputation. You show them and everyone watching that you are above the chaos. And in that moment, you've not only won the battle, you've elevated yourself to a level they cannot reach. There's something about grace that magnifies power instead of diminishing it. When you choose it, you're not ignoring what's happening, you're controlling it. You're dictating the pace of the interaction. You're showing everyone involved that you cannot be manipulated, you cannot be baited, you cannot be dragged down, and that level of self-possession is rare. That's why it leaves such a strong impression. People might forget what was said in an argument, but they never forget the person who stayed calm while everyone else lost control. Grace also builds influence. People follow those they trust, and trust comes from consistency, from knowing someone won't lose themselves under pressure. When you carry yourself with grace, you create a reputation that precedes you. People know you can handle conflict without becoming destructive. They know you can lead without becoming oppressive. And that's why grace is not just a weapon against your opponents. It's a magnet for allies, respect, and opportunities. At its core, grace is choosing to fight smarter. It's knowing that you don't have to crush someone loudly to defeat them. Sometimes the sharpest strike is silence. Sometimes the most devastating move is calmness. Sometimes the most powerful attack is a kind word delivered in the middle of someone else's rage, because that's what they never see coming. That's what throws them off balance. That's what destroys them, not through force, but through elegance. The truth is, grace is one of the hardest things to master. It takes discipline, it takes restraint, it takes confidence, but once you have it, it becomes one of the most effective tools in your arsenal. It turns conflict into your stage and transforms opponents into their own downfall. Grace isn't weakness. Grace is the quiet, unshakable strength that makes you unforgettable. And once you learn to wield it, you'll see just how powerful it really is. Energy is your currency. Every word you speak, every reaction you give, every thought you entertain, it all costs you something. The question is, are you investing your energy wisely, or are you spending it recklessly on people and situations that don't deserve it? Because here's the reality, not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your response. Not everyone deserves your peace. Yet too often, people waste their most valuable resource, their energy, on meaningless battles, petty arguments, and toxic individuals who thrive on draining them. That's like handing away your hard-earned money to a thief. You'd never do it with cash, so why do it with your energy? When you understand that energy is currency, you start to value it differently. You stop giving it away for free. You stop reacting to every insult, every provocation, every little test someone throws at you. You start to ask yourself, does this deserve my time, my focus, my strength? Most of the time, the answer is no. Most people who try to provoke you are not worth the cost. They want your reaction because your reaction feeds them. It gives them power they don't have on their own. And the moment you give it, you've paid them with your peace. But when you hold back, when you stay calm, when you save your energy, you leave them starving. That's how you destroy them politely. You starve them of what they came for. Energy is what drives your growth, your success, your future. It's what builds your dreams, fuels your goals, and strengthens your character. But if you're constantly spending it on people who don't matter, you'll have nothing left for the things that do. That's why so many people feel exhausted, frustrated, burned out, not because life is too heavy, but because they're wasting their energy in the wrong places. They're bleeding out on meaningless fights instead of investing in their purpose. Protecting your energy is one of the smartest, strongest moves you can make. It doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means choosing which problems are worth solving. It doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means picking the conflicts that actually move you forward instead of the ones that only hold you back. The truth is, every time you choose not to react, every time you walk away instead of engage, every time you stay focused instead of distracted, you're building wealth, not financial wealth, but energy wealth. And that wealth will take you further than any argument ever could. People will try to test you because they want access to that energy. Think about it. The person who insults you, they want your attention. The person who disrespects you, they want your reaction. The person who challenges you for no reason, they want to pull you into their drama. But when you don't give them what they want, when you protect your currency, you maintain control. You keep the upper hand. You show them that your energy is too valuable to waste, and in doing so, you crush them without even raising your voice. Here's the truth. Not everyone who approaches you deserves a piece of you. Some people are distractions, some are obstacles, and some are just noise. And when you understand that, you stop treating every provocation as an invitation. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every comment made about you. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is your protection, and the moment you realize that, you become untouchable. This is why the strongest people are often the quietest. They're not quiet because they have nothing to say. They're quiet because they refuse to waste their currency on people who don't deserve it. They choose their battles. They save their energy for what matters. And because of that, they have more strength, more focus, more power to put into the things that actually build their future. That's why they succeed while others stay stuck. Your energy is also contagious. When you waste it on negativity, you spread negativity. When you spend it on growth, you spread growth. The people around you feed off your energy, so what you invest in doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone connected to you. Protecting your energy isn't just self-preservation, it's leadership. It sets the tone for how others treat you and how they treat themselves. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause and ask, is this worth the cost? Is this where I want to invest my energy? Because every time you say no, every time you protect your peace, every time you walk away, you're saving your currency for something greater. And that's how you win. You don't win by exhausting yourself in petty battles. You win by keeping your energy intact, by channeling it into your purpose, and by letting the people who tried to drain you realize they never had the power to take from you what you never gave. Victory without conflict is the highest form of dominance. Anyone can throw punches, anyone can shout, anyone can fight. But the real winners are the ones who never have to. They walk away with respect, with authority, with power. Not because they destroyed their opponent with force, but because they made their opponent destroy themselves. That's what it means to win without fighting. That's the art of true control. Most people think winning is about proving themselves. They think it's about shouting the loudest, hitting the hardest, or getting the last word. But all of that is surface level. It's noise. Victory without conflict goes deeper. It's about positioning yourself so powerfully that no fight is even necessary. It's about maintaining such calmness, such discipline, such presence that your opponent realizes they can't touch you. And in that realization, they defeat themselves. Think about it. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't respond, what happens? Their anger has nowhere to land. Their insults bounce off the wall of your composure. Their strategy collapses because you didn't play the game they wanted you to play. That is victory. Not because you outshouted them, but because you made their aggression useless. You turned their power against them by giving them nothing to work with. And that is far more devastating than any comeback you could have delivered. Victory without conflict is not about avoiding every battle. It's about being so selective, so intentional that the battles you don't fight are the ones you've already won. Walking away is not weakness when it's done from a place of strength. In fact, sometimes walking away is the boldest statement you can make. It says, you are not worth my energy. You are not worth my peace. You cannot drag me into your chaos. And when you carry yourself with that kind of confidence, people learn very quickly that trying to provoke you is a waste of their time. There's a reason the strongest leaders in history were not the ones who fought the most battles, but the ones who prevented them. Their power was so evident that many conflicts never began. They had mastered presence, authority, and composure to such a degree that others surrendered before even attempting to challenge them. That is victory without conflict. It's not about proving how strong you are in the heat of a fight. It's about carrying yourself so powerfully that nobody dares to test you. When you live this way, you stop being reactive. You stop letting the world dictate your responses. You stop being pulled into arguments, drama, and petty conflicts. Instead, you dictate the terms. You control the pace. You set the tone. And in doing so, you elevate yourself above the noise. That elevation is what makes people respect you, even when they dislike you. They may not agree with you, but they can't deny your control. Here's the truth. People who always fight, who always argue, who always need to dominate, they exhaust themselves. They burn bridges, they drain energy, and they eventually lose credibility. But the one who wins without conflict, that person lasts. They build relationships, they maintain influence, they grow stronger with time, because their victories are not about temporary ego boosts, but about long-term authority. They don't just win in the moment, they win in life. And the beauty of this is that victory without conflict leaves you clean. There are no regrets, no wasted energy, no scars from battles that never should have been fought. You walk away intact, whole, and stronger than before. The other person, meanwhile, is left to wrestle with their own anger, their own insecurity, their own failure to provoke you. They become their own downfall, and you never had to lift a finger. That is the most elegant form of destruction, when the other person realizes they can't touch you, and in trying, they only hurt themselves. So, the next time someone comes for you, remember, you don't have to fight to win. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to clash to prove your strength. Your calmness is your power. Your silence is your weapon. Your composure is your victory. And when you master the art of winning without conflict, you rise to a level where no one can pull you down because you've shown the world that your strength doesn't depend on battles. It depends on mastery. At the end of the day, strength is not about how loud you are, how angry you can get, or how many people you can intimidate. Real strength is quiet. Real strength is calm. Real strength is the ability to control yourself when others cannot control themselves. That is the difference between those who break under pressure and those who rise above it. You destroy people politely not by crushing them with aggression, but by refusing to give them what they came for. You hold your control like a shield, and no matter what they throw at you, nothing gets through. You disarm their aggression with politeness, and in doing so, you show them that anger cannot touch discipline. You prove that discipline will always outweigh noise, because noise fades, but discipline commands respect. You use grace as your weapon because grace cuts deeper than cruelty. It reveals the weakness in others while magnifying the strength in you. You guard your energy like the currency it is, because you know not everyone deserves access to it. You save it for what matters, for the battles that build your life, not the ones that drain it. Finally, you win without conflict, because the highest victory is the one where you walk away untouchable, unbothered, and undefeated. while your opponent is left to fight with their own frustration. This is what it means to be powerful. Not the kind of power that screams and shouts and needs to prove itself, but the kind of power that commands respect without saying a word. The kind of power that makes people pause when you walk into a room, not because you're the loudest, but because you are the most unshakable. That's real dominance. That's real victory. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, you don't have to fight to win. You don't have to argue to prove yourself. You don't have to destroy anyone with rage. You destroy them with control. You destroy them with politeness. You destroy them with discipline, with grace, with energy wisely invested, and with victory that requires no conflict at all. That is how you rise above. That is how you win every battle without ever stepping into the war. And that is how you walk through life untouchable.